All right. Welcome to Foundational Flow. And today I have a great guest. I have Teresa Bruni, and she wrote a fantastic book called Why You're Sick and How to Get Well. The byline is revealing everything Western medicine isn't telling you. Now, that is a loaded title right there. We'll get to this question, but why isn't Western medicine telling you? Spoiler alert, profit. Okay, but I digress. Let's get into just your own introduction. What was going on with you? What brought you to the epiphanies that led you to write this book? So
So
take it
my
away.
my journey was really quite lengthy. When I look back, it's unfortunate that I didn't wake up sooner, but it was what it was. So I was starting to get sick, and I was starting to call in absent at work a lot. And so, of course, I was going to doctors and trying to figure out what was wrong. At the time, I was so physically fit. Um, uh, you know, I looked like the peak of health. And so my family doctor, he did blood work and he examined me. My abs were so tight, he could not feel my internal organs. And consequently, there's nothing wrong with you because they couldn't find anything physically wrong. And so he gave me a prescription and sent me for stress management. I just filled the prescription. I didn't question it. I didn't look it up. And it wouldn't be until later that I learned that that prescription was antidepressants. In his defense, I could see, I can understand that looking at me physically and the blood work, nothing showed up on the blood work. What other options did he have? Unfortunately, medical science just looks at the body. They don't look at the spirit and the energy side. Fast forwarding, it took me 2 years to get diagnosed, and I ended up with an appointment at the University of Medicine and Dentistry with a well-known immunologist, and they ran like thousands of dollars worth of blood work, and I was diagnosed officially with chronic fatigue syndrome. And at the same time, they were opening a research center to study chronic fatigue syndrome. This was the new disease, It had just been named, it had just been recognized by the government, so you could get disability, Social Security
Oh, we
disability
got we got
benefits.
something else to sell.
Yeah. So, so he highly recommended that I see the doctors at this facility, which I did for 7 years, and and they weren't getting me well. So basically, what they had for us were pills. So there were pills to sleep, there were pills to wake up, there were pills for the joint pain, pills for the headaches, and this cocktail of pills caused me to have an emotional breakdown. And it was my boyfriend that recognized what was happening. And, he said to me, "You got to get off these pills. It's changing who you are." And that was the big turning point for me. So, and common sense kind of kicked in. And I said to myself, I've given these people all these years to get me well. I've trusted them to get me well. I was on full disability at the time. And I wanted my life back. So that was the pivot for me. And I knew that I had to do something differently.
So all those pills were essentially potholes in in the road of your health, right? So instead of fixing the potholes, all they did was put a new layer of asphalt over it and just go, look, it's fixed,
Right.
when nothing gets fixed because they don't know how to fix,
Right.
because they are unidimensional. They're not even two-dimensional. Just they're not even quite a sheet of paper, right? That's two
Yeah.
dimensions. You got to get to three.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
got to have X, Y, and Z, right? And there's the kind of that happy triad that you discovered in your journey, that it's the three different parts. So why don't we spend a little time delving into those?
Yeah. So the first thing, if you want to maintain good health or recover your health, then it requires a broad spectrum of things that you need to do. And the first one is to take care of your body. So, as you know, I work with people who have chronic health conditions and I help to guide them back to full health. And the first thing we look at is their physical health. And, is your gut in tune? How's your mental process? How's your mood? Are you depressed? We look at all of those things. We look at the body as a whole, and we also look at your symptoms because your symptoms are typically the messenger of your illness. And we can get really deep into that. But medical science typically turns that switch off, where in my practice, we lean on your symptoms to determine what messages your body is trying to send you. Your body is truly a communication device. And when you have symptoms, it's your body trying to tell you something's off here. And so medical science will come in and they will silence that messenger with a prescription. They don't cure much. Now, I don't want to be too hard on them because
Oh,
uh,
yes, let's.
critical medicine, let's face it, they can repair your heart, they can give you a new kidney. They do life-saving medicine every day.
They fix bones.
What I'm talking about is your general day-to-day practitioner, okay? They are just trained to mask symptoms, and masking symptoms is not a cure. So that's the first thing we look at. We make sure your nutrition is on track, exercise, fresh air, clean water, all those things that your body needs to be healthy. Then we dive into the spirit work and the mind work. So as you're aware, you get what you believe, right? So
You get what you think.
you get what you think.
And if that thought is driven by emotions, that becomes your reality.
Exactly.
And that's a tough one because that means you're participating. You're
Exactly.
not participating, you're the conductor.
You're the conductor. Yeah, and that's a tough one for people. And so um I just wrote a thread on this on Twitter X a couple of weeks ago about um how we are programmed pretty much from birth. I mean, you're born and if you're born Christian, then you're immediately taught that you were born flawed. You
Mhm.
have
Yeah,
original
original
sin.
sin.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have original sin. You were broken the minute you came on the planet.
it's a tough
And
start.
it is a tough start. And then there are more limiting beliefs that get put into your
By
consciousness.
your parents,
Your parents, your
then by your
teachers,
teachers, your coach.
clergy,
Yeah,
coaches,
yeah.
cousins,
People get
jealous
taught early
friends.
on, yeah, that a lot of it is you're not enough,
Exactly.
right? One of the
Exactly.
worst things you can do to a kid is is dim their light. It's probably, other than physical abuse, that type of emotional abuse sticks with people
It
for
does.
most of their lives because they really don't have the tool set to try and turn that around. So they stay in that their whole life, and that
Yeah,
might lead to abusive relationships,
it
drug
does.
addiction, alcoholism. It could lead to sex addictions. It can lead to a whole lot of different issues that are for a lot of them are long term. I generally see adults as 5-year-olds running around in adult meat suits
Yeah.
because they're still going on their little kid hurts. When the tools are available, and with what is in your book, you're providing a lot of those tools. So you get to be your own mechanic. You got a broken transmission, here's how you fix it. You blew a head gasket, here's how you fix it.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and continue on.
Yeah, so we work on that mindset part, and you can do that on your own if you'd like. It sometimes it helps to have someone to guide you.
No,
And
absolutely. If you don't know, you need a mentor
right,
who can
right.
teach you these skills that then you can engender, and then you're your own mechanic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like walking out of the restroom with toilet paper stuck to your shoe. Everybody in the restaurant can see it except for you. Okay, you're the only one that doesn't know. You've got this trail behind you.
Yeah.
Um, so sometimes it helps it helps to seek advice from people you can trust or a trusted advisor, physician, wellness expert. So it's a matter of untangling that. And then as you read in the book, we all have limiting beliefs, but then some of us also have trauma in our past. Most people do. Most people have trauma. And for me, that was the key. So back to this magnificent physical body that I was walking around in, that was so strong. There was a lot of trauma. There were a lot of internal wounds that needed to be healed.
Mm.
And at the time that I got sick, I was going through a very painful divorce, and I didn't know yet. I would soon find out that I had a lot of trauma that I needed to clear up. And I talk about that in the book. I talk very openly about it in the book, because it's important for people to know. And as I started to unwind that, my body started to get better.
What?
Yeah. So I'm kind of all over the place. I apologize for that. So when I had this huge transition, when I had that great pivotal moment with the emotional breakdown, I decided the pills had to go. And so I flushed my body of all the pills. And from that point forward, I would only take a pharmaceutical if I felt I really needed it. Like if I had an infection, I would take an antibiotic. Um, but a lot of the other pills, I refuse to take and still do. So again, getting back to the mind, body, spirit part, we talked about the body. We're talking about the mind now, untangling those limiting beliefs. Things like it's hereditary. Okay, that if you still believe that your disease is hereditary, you're not up on the latest research, which is epigenetics.
Hmm.
So no one is a victim to their genes.
That's your tool bag, your epigenetic tool bag. Now, what medicine is still focusing on, unfortunately, the ivory tower is still focusing exclusively on your nuclear DNA, right? And that's if it goes through your familial line, you may get it too. Now, there definitely is some truth to that. If you look at the mitochondrial DNA and something called the heteroplasmy rate, which is mutations in the health of your mitochondria. So, for instance, if a dis-ease follows a familial line, it is only on the mother's side. You only get your mitochondrial DNA from your mother. Dad's is kicked out. Evolution says so. But does that mean that has to happen? Of
No,
course not.
no.
Just, but it can be an indicator of things you need to change. So you might have breast cancer in your family, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother had it. Well, how did they live? What was their diet? What was their mental state? How was their emotional state? All these different factors. Did you grow up in the same town? Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe you live in the wrong part of the world. Maybe your lineage isn't from here and being here isn't great for you.
Right.
Maybe you need to move. There are so many keys to it. But saying that it's just hereditary, it's a fool's game.
And a lot of times, you're absolutely correct, no argument at all. But what doctors also are not looking at is generational trauma.
No.
Okay, if you have an illness like that that's coming down through the generations, it's quite possible that there was trauma there that kicked those cancer genes off, activated them, and that trauma's never been healed.
Hmm.
And so that's the DNA that's coming down the chain,
Yeah.
okay? And when you do the trauma work, you can actually do generational healing. So you can heal future generations. It stops with you.
You
When
sever
you
it.
do generational trauma, when you do trauma healing,
Yeah.
generational, it stops with you. It doesn't get passed down any longer. And it actually goes back and heals past generations, whether they're living or dead. So
Yeah,
generational trauma is huge, and
that's a
most
really
cultures
important
have
point.
it.
That's a really important point that I think
Yeah,
everyone needs to have, like, put a nail in it, put a pin in it, because everything, all of creation is energy. There is nothing but energy.
exactly.
Now, if it's photonic, it's pure energy. It has no mass yet, but once it hits the atmosphere, slows down, it can become matter. But matter doesn't exist without energy. So that is the starting point, right? And not to throw religion into it, but in the Bible it says, in the beginning there was the word, right? The word was sound, was frequency, was vibration. If you've missed that point, you've missed a lot of the story. You have
Right,
lost the plot.
right.
So when you can take care of that energy, generational, you're right, you can sever that tie. And if you don't perpetuate that and you've released and healed it,
Yeah.
then the next generation really can be free and clear of it.
And then
A great point.
bringing in the Bible, now you're talking about the spirit part.
Hey, it's like I
Believing.
it's like I knew.
Yeah, it's like you do. Believing that you can get well. And the book dives into that pretty thoroughly also. It talks about what the Bible says about healing. It talks about um, the law of attraction and how, well, like we said a few minutes ago, you get what you believe and you are what you believe. So that's why you can take a set of identical twins and one gets a chronic health condition and the other one doesn't, because there's all these other factors at play. And the book dives into all of them. It's practical and spiritual all at the same time. So it gives you everything that you need to get well. Which is what I experienced on my journey. Now, for me, it took me another 3 years to recover because I didn't have a book like this.
You,
I was like winging it, okay? And so one day, this is a beautiful example. So one day, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and I looked in the mirror and I recognized that I didn't know the person that was looking back at me in the mirror, and it startled me. And so I jumped up on the bathroom counter and started to look deep into my own eyes, going, who is that? What? It's like that person is blank. I don't recognize myself. And and from that day I started doing mirror work, and mirror work is incredibly powerful. It's also difficult. Like, I have had clients tell me that they just refuse to do it because it's too painful to look themselves. You're looking into your own soul, basically.
Yeah.
And the tears were streaming down my face. And as it became more comfortable, I started to tell myself things like, I love you, you're going to be okay.
Hmm.
Um, but the point of the story is I'm fully recovered. I'm back to work years later, and my cousin introduces me to this book, and it was one that I had not stumbled upon on my journey. It was Louise Hay's "You Can Heal Your Life." So I'm reading the book, and all of a sudden she's talking about mirror work, and I'm going, wait a minute, I invented mirror work.
Stealing my thunder.
Yeah, yeah. So I started to think about that and I said, how could she know about it and write about it? And how could I have known about it intuitively without reading her book? Well, that's just it. It is intuitive. You've got everything you need to get well right inside of you. And it's a matter of listening to yourself and letting it out in order for you to get well. And so I started there were things like that, like mirror work, just clearing up my traumas, rebuilding my self-esteem. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma and of all kinds, mental, physical, sexual, um, and and so all of that was unhealed. And so it's not surprising that I ended up in a bad marriage, right?
Yeah, and going
That
back to your where you started, you're seeing your GP and he's pushing on your rock hard ripped abs. You're like, nothing can be wrong with you. Look at you. You're in fine fitness.
exactly.
It took
Exactly.
you to pull back, not to use a worn out phrase, but those um onion peel, the
Peel the
layers.
onion. Yeah. Peel the layers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So keep rocking and rolling with this.
Yeah. So I just continued to get emotionally stronger. And as I did that, my body was healing. Um, And there were a few things that medical science offered me, like at the Center for Persons with Chronic Fatigue Syndrome. Eventually, they developed a physical therapy program. And so, of course, having been athletic and so physically strong previously, I jumped right on that. And I had an amazing physical therapist. She was just a beautiful soul. The day I got there, my resting pulse rate was 120 beats per minute.
That was a hummingbird.
You know?
Wow.
So, so it,
Talk
which was
about
pretty.
distress in the system.
Yeah, yeah, there was all this stress in the system, and it was a stressful drive to get there. And anyone who has had chronic fatigue syndrome or anything similar to that, your concentration, it's difficult to concentrate. So I had this stressful drive. I lived in New Jersey, going up the New Jersey Parkway. Um, and so by the time then when I walked in and I was talking to the receptionist, they were looking at me like I had two heads, and I just felt very displaced. And so by the time I sat in the physical therapist's office, she took my pulse. My pulse was 120 beats per minute. And we dropped it 20 points in 5 minutes by using focused breathing. So that's the first thing she taught me. So, and then within 6 months, I was beginning to be physically fit again. Before I got sick, I could swim a mile in the pool. That was fairly common for me to swim a mile. And so when I finished with her, um, I could swim a good 20 minutes again.
You know,
So
probably in a much more relaxed manner.
yeah. So she was fantastic. So there are some really good practitioners out there. You just have to find them. And um, and so then finally I went back to work. I was able to repair dysfunctional relationships. Some relationships are not worthy of repair, so you just need to have those healthy boundaries. But I learned to trust myself again. I learned to trust my body again. And it was, it was a beautiful journey that led me to write this book to help other people on their journey.
Yeah, so let's jump back into the consciousness part. So you didn't have a roadmap. So you wrote and experienced the roadmap, and then you put that down. You quite literally put that into the collective consciousness, right? So you'll have people in disparate parts of the world, different languages, different cultures, everything else, and they come up with the same invention or same theory at the same time. That's because nothing's new.
Exactly.
Everything is in the supreme consciousness, which we all emanate from. There is nothing that exists outside of that. We just are born and forget. But you have these moments of inspiration, and that inspiration a lot of times can come strictly out of strife, out of pain, out of bad relationships, marriages, and you go, there's got to be a better way. And you start to put your focus on it. Once you place your focus on it, like what you think you are or become, once you start looking for answers, what happens? The answers start to show up for
They
you
start to show up.
because you asked or you commanded, whatever your approach is, that consciousness can then literally be downloaded into you. Kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he wanted to be a martial arts expert. He downloaded the program
Yeah,
because it's we live in the Matrix. It's all a program.
it
So
is.
so program it the way you want. And if it's not to your liking, change it. It's like with Deb's book. Change your movie, change your life.
Right.
Change it. You're the director, you're the conductor.
Right.
If you let other people conduct your orchestra, maybe they're not playing the music you like.
They are more likely playing the music they like
Uh-huh.
and the music they think will be best for you. But you're
Yeah,
an
because
adult
they know
now,
better.
and you're an adult now, and you get to make your own decisions. Um, but you know, going back to letting that information in, and you're right. They say there are no new thoughts. Everything has been thought before, and it's all out there. So the beginning of the book talks about surrender. And that was really big. So I can remember I was still going to the University of Medicine and Dentistry for treatment, and they had a newsletter, and there was a clinical psychologist who had chronic fatigue syndrome. She was part of the treatment group, and she wrote an article for the newsletter. And this was when I was recovering, so I was already well upon my recoverment journey. And she wrote about never give up, never surrender. Well, you know, I'm going to tell you that that is exactly wrong.
Just so you
You
know,
don't,
that's wrong.
that's wrong. Okay. You don't fight against your illnesses. When now medical science and big pharma, they want you to fight against your illness because fighting keeps you in fight or flight. It keeps you in a stress mode, and it activates your condition. One of the biggest things for me when I had that turning point moment, I surrendered, and I said to myself, look, this is where you are, and now we need to find a way out. And so I talk about it in the book as like being in one of those big shopping malls and you're lost. You can't find the store that you want. You don't remember what door you came in, so you can't find the car. And then all of a sudden you stumble across this map that says, this is where you are.
You are here.
You are here. And that's what surrender is all about. And once you recognize where you are, now you can find your way out. So surrendering, once you surrender and just take that deep breath, ah, that's when the information can start coming in. That's when you ask, what do I need next? And the answers come.
So, yeah, back to that analogy of you are here looking at the map and you clearly see the right exit to get to your car to go home. And you say, you know what? I'm not going that way because I think I know better. My past trauma, my past bad relationships, my past bout with drugs is going to serve me better than going the way that I know is going to help me. So you go the other direction.
It
And you
happens a
wander
lot.
around the wrong parking lot going, where the hell's my car? I can't find my car.
And it happens a lot.
It happens more often than you would expect, but it is that honesty that you have to come to. Because if you aren't going to be honest with yourself and what's happening and why you participated in any problem you have, whether that's just insomnia because you're not managing your light and dark cycles right, well, maybe you need to learn about circadian biology.
Mhm.
Maybe you have to learn that staring at a screen till midnight is completely screwing up your melatonin. It's gone. It's destroyed. Your dopamine's gone. Your serotonin's gone. Your melanin just got whacked. You wonder why you can't sleep well. And then somebody shows up in your presence that goes, hey, I got a pretty good answer for why you don't sleep well at night. And here it is. Now, if you follow this, you're going to sleep well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And you and I,
that person typically won't show up until you're ready.
exactly.
You're
Exactly.
still running out the back door of the mall in the wrong direction.
And you and I could talk for hours on, getting back to nature, grounding, ditching the
Yeah.
sunglasses,
Yeah.
opening I wake up before the sun. Um, that's not my choice, but it's what I get.
Yeah.
So I go with it. I make the most of it and I open the blinds because when that sun comes up, I want my eyes to see it. I want my
You
eyes to know.
you have to see it. You don't have to. Most people don't. Most people don't want to be up at sunrise. Me, I have. It's when my, but I go to bed at the right time and I go to
Right,
bed without being abused by blue light
right.
in the absence of red, right? So I'm going to build that when that, right? No glasses, no windows, dopamine. Well, you get beta endorphin first, right? And that's endogenous morphine. That's the chemical that proves that we are designed to be addicted to the sun.
Mm,
You know, people go out to the beach and they think they feel so good because they just went to the beach. No, they got a dose of vitamin S.
mhm.
Now you can do dumb things with it. You cannot get any sun, go out at noon, fry yourself, and then, you're in bad shape and you think, oh, I can't go in the sun, I get burnt. But when you
Right.
manage it correctly, it is the giver of all life on this planet.
It is.
And
It
if you
is.
live
And what have they
opposite
taught? What
world,
has science told us?
oh,
Protect yourself from the sun.
yeah. So here's a good recipe for skin cancer. Be in front of blue light screens all the time, be indoors, wear sunglasses when you're outside, and wear sunscreen, which are complete circadian mismatches. The sun tells you where you are in relation to it, and every gene in your body has a gene timing clock. And when the sun hits your eyes and your skin, it tells all those genes what needs to happen right then. There's no accidents. The accidents happen is when you're trying to live opposite life and
Exactly.
you don't follow any of the rules of nature. It's really simple. That's how I live. That's how Deb lives. You got to pay attention to the signs.
Yeah,
We don't have chronic diseases because people are doing the right thing.
exactly.
Chronic disease because they're doing everything opposite and they're not taking
Exactly.
advantage of what is natural.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's one of the other first chapters in the book is about medical science um, and and all of the things that I feel that they're doing wrong. So, telling us to protect your eyes, wear sunglasses, use sunscreen. What you and I know that sunscreen is filled with poisons. And I understand there are light-skinned people who need protection. So, like a long sleeve white shirt would work really well,
Yeah.
as
An
opposed to
umbrella.
sunscreen.
Yeah.
Um, and then the nutrition, there's a lot of information on nutrition in the book because as I was talking about in the beginning, the first thing we need to tend to is to make sure the body has everything that it needs to recover. So if you are nutritionally deficient, you're starting off the race with one sneaker, okay? Your body needs certain things to be healthy and to recover. So it's a joint effort. It's that mind, body, spirit effort that is required in order to fully
It's yeah,
recover.
it's raw
And
materials and source. Where are you getting them from? Now, can you get raw materials from a McDonald's Happy Meal? You can get them. Are they in the right form? No. Have they been genetically modified? Yes.
probably,
Is it going to improve your health? No.
yeah.
So
And
if
in
you
some
disagree with the
cases,
things I just said, you have not paid attention to anything.
and so I'm going to be perfectly honest. I indulge sometimes,
Oh, me too.
but guess what? I can do that because my body's healthy.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know, I can share a little.
95% of the time,
So
it's, yeah, is that way.
So in February, I turned 68
Nice.
and I take no pharmaceuticals.
Oh, no reason.
I go to the gym, I eat healthy, and I'm grateful, eternally grateful to my father because he's the one, who taught me about nutrition early on. I grew up on a farm. All of our food, he either grew it or raised it. We had probably 40 fruit trees. He had the garden. Like it's really hard for me to buy corn on the cob because when I was growing up, my mother would have the pot boiling and my father would be husking the corn. So the corn went directly from the stalk into the pot. You've never ever in your life tasted corn like that, or
Yeah.
maybe if you're lucky like me, you have. But supermarket corn is never, ever, ever in a million years going to taste like that. I don't care how much milk or sugar you put in that water. I know people do that. They put milk or some people put sugar in the water when they boil the corn. But that's how I grew up. And my father was always reading, about nutrition and health. And so that was really the starting point for me. And when I was getting sick, I was living in New Jersey and I was working in Manhattan. So I had a very stressful commute. I had a very long work day. My work day was like door to door was 13 hours. And so guess what I was eating?
Whatever you could get down.
I was eating those frozen dinners. Lean cuisine and all those other ones. I don't even remember the name of them
Oh, there
now.
was Stouffer's link
So
with,
first, yeah,
yeah,
anything that was
bird's
frozen
eye.
that I could pop in the microwave or the oven and it would be ready. Now, when I smell those, all I smell is cardboard. If
It
someone's
just makes
cooking
you
one,
recoil.
it does. It really, really does. So
Yeah.
So the fact that I'd just gone through a painful divorce, my diet was horrible because of my work schedule. And so everything kind of compounded. I talk about a theory in the book that functional doctors utilize, and it's called the bucket theory. So the bucket theory has to do with we're all born with a bucket. Your bucket's different than mine. and all of your toxins, all of your bad diet, all of your medications, all of your limiting beliefs, they all go into that bucket, okay? And then your traumas go in there too. And when that bucket gets too full, it starts to overflow, and then that's when you get sick. So that's what happened to me. My bucket couldn't take any more, and my body just broke down.
Yeah, that's your tipping point.
Yep,
Or
that's your
with the
tipping
bucket,
point.
that's your slosh point because it just
Yeah,
starts sloshing back and
exactly,
forth like somebody's kicking
exactly,
it.
exactly. The bucket is just sloshing. So I see that so clearly now, that all of those traumas, combined with the stress of being single again, working in New York City, that's very stressful. Um, and then not eating well on top of it, and just finally my system said enough, and I got really sick.
Yeah, when you consider on that, I think of health as kind of like a seven-layer dip
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
everybody knows that image. Everybody loves a seven-layer dip, unless your layers are really bad, then you're just going to get food poisoning, essentially,
Right.
right? But if when starting with the diet and nutrition part of it, that's your raw materials there to even have
Exactly.
the hope of building the and supporting the right cellular structure so you can have some semblance of health, right? And a lot of people have different definitions of that. I think for a lot of people it's just absence of disease, which to me isn't health. A lot of times that's just mean that it hasn't been diagnosed yet, but it's been festering in your body and the symptoms start to show themselves.
Right.
And then you're like, wow, how did I get cancer? Well, let's let's go down that road. Why did you get cancer?
Right.
And what was your part in it? They're like, what? I didn't. No, you have a part in it. Remember, you're the conductor.
Mhm.
Maybe you forgot to get on stage. Maybe you were in the wings not conducting. Oh, that's a good one. Maybe you were in the wings not conducting your own orchestra.
Yeah.
Right? I like to use the metaphor, pinball. Either you're the paddle or the ball. And if you ain't the paddle, you're the ball. You're at the mercy of the paddles. It's going to send you wherever it wants to send you. And you're just going to go bing, 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 bing. High score. You're dead.
And
Oops.
people will say, that can't possibly be true. Why would I do this to myself?
Well, that's the first question.
That's the first question. Why would you do
And
this to
that goes
yourself?
back then to your mirror work.
Right.
Start there.
Right.
Talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And
That's tough
if you
work.
ask that question, that you may not like the answer you get back, but it's the answer you need to hear.
So yeah, so I believe, based on my journey, I believe that everything you need, you already possess. It's a matter of tapping into it. Um, because it's all there. Like we talked just a minute ago, there is not a thought that hasn't already been thought. It's all out there, ready for you to access. It can be challenging. As I mentioned, my recovery took 3 years. And as I work with clients and we start to untangle the limiting beliefs
Mm.
and we start instilling new beliefs, I remind them that the mind we can change fairly rapidly. I have a modality that I use that's called Psyche that allows us to reprogram the subconscious mind, which we can do in matter of minutes. But now the body needs to adjust. And the body's dense. Okay, the body's dense. So it's going to take some time. I can help you change your subconscious in minutes. The body is going to take some time to heal.
You can't turn from a sprinter into a marathon runner overnight.
Right.
There's adaptation.
Right.
There are physiological changes that have to occur for you to do that, do the long race.
Right.
I think people spend a lot of their life sprinting everywhere,
Oh, they do.
getting to the next thing, the next fix, the next hit, the next dopamine
They
burst.
they do. Yeah. And that's another problem because I look at the consumption of energy drinks, and it's like a multi-billion dollar
Oh yeah.
industry, the energy drinks. And it's destroying your adrenals if you drink them. I've never had one. I, I drink coffee. Um,
Though all of those drinks are just chemical shitstorms.
They are. And so I had a person contact me uh, from Great Britain, and his concerns were he was anxious all the time, serious anxiety, couldn't manifest the life that he wanted, and had trouble sleeping. So I give people an introductory session where we just chat, kind of like a consultation with an attorney, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody deserves that. And so I said to him, "How many energy drinks are you having per day?" And it was like three or four. I said, get off the energy drinks. Okay, stop the energy drinks now. And then we talked about things to support the anxiety, simple things like vitamin D and magnesium. And sometimes the solution is as easy as that. Okay. My nephew, it seems like that entire generation, the younger generation, just really suffers from anxiety. My nephew had terrible anxiety, and he wanted off the pills. He didn't want to take the prescriptions anymore. So we talked about, you know, the natural things that you can do for anxiety. Do a little meditating, take some magnesium, take some vitamin
Take your
D,
shoes off,
take your shoes off,
get some
run out.
sun on your skin, produce vitamin D.
Yeah, yeah.
This current generation, by and large, has been coddled too much, and they were never told no. They
Hmm.
weren't told that they were wrong. So they really don't have. They're not. There's not a fortitude with them. They haven't had their asses kicked. They haven't failed because nobody ever told them they couldn't do something, and then they were just told they did great, like the old participation awards.
Right, right.
That does,
Everybody gets a trophy.
yeah, that does two things. It makes the people who didn't win feel bad because they know they didn't earn it, and it diminishes the triumph or the winning of it. It diminishes that. So everybody feels bad. So nobody won.
Right,
Nobody won at all,
right.
right? This world is competitive. Either get in a game, learn the rules, and kick ass, or just sit on the sidelines and don't complain.
Yeah. And shame on the parents that allowed that to happen.
Oh boy, that's a whole other show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Feeding into the delusions of all sorts of things that have been injected into our social consciousness. And it's a lot, and it's really damaged the social fabric. So you have a lot of kids now that are really just confused. They don't know what gender they are.
Oh boy.
I know that's a whole other topic that we could
Yeah.
delve into another time, but
Yeah.
it's nothing more than destructive. And how do you figure out a pathway for yourself if you can't answer simple questions about who and what you are? Because until you can at least identify that in the mirror, you really have a diminished chance of living a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. It's going to avoid you because you're not going to call it in because you're not calling in what you want.
Because you don't think you can deserve it. You can't imagine. I get clients like that where I say, I ask, what is it that you really want? And they'll say, well, I know I don't want this, and I know I don't want that. And I'll say to them, okay, now you just gave me a list of all the things that you don't want. Tell me what you do want. They've never stopped to think about it. They've never stopped to imagine what would a perfect life look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like?
Maybe they're terrified of having the perfect life.
They don't know. They can't be terrified because they can't imagine it. They've never let themselves off the leash that far,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
They're living, like you said, everybody's on this treadmill, just racing to the next moment and
Looking
drinking their
looking for
energy
the
drinks
next
along
hit.
the way.
Yeah, they're looking for the next hit. So it really it's serendipitous that you bring up imagine, because imagination is the mind's eye visual of what you want to bring into your reality.
Mhm.
So your conscious mind is the one doing the wishing and the wanting, right? And creating that image, that imagination that you want to see happen. The subconscious, what it really is doesn't reside in us. It is that totality of consciousness that brings everything into our existence and awareness. So your conscious mind creates the image, right, through imagination. And we're probably the only mammals who can do that. Lower animals can't. They just react to the environment. We, with these beautiful two frontal lobes in the
Mhm.
front, get to imagine everything we experience, and we can make it manifest. If we don't, who else is? So when you constantly say, this is what I don't want, the subconscious, the totality of consciousness that we are a minor spark of, goes, well, let's give them what they don't want.
Right. Right.
You ask for what you don't want by saying you don't want it.
And there is some research that indicates that the subconscious mind doesn't recognize contradictions or
Nope,
contractions.
doesn't
So
know.
when you say, I don't want to be sick, what the subconscious mind is hearing is, I want to be sick. Okay. It just cuts out that don't. But speaking of imagination, there's an entire chapter in the book about visualization because that's also what I used. I realized, partway into my healing journey, I realized that I had forgotten what it felt like to wake up and feel good. I couldn't remember. I was searching in my mind, when's the last time you woke up and felt really good? And I couldn't remember. So I started using my imagination to dream up what my life would look like when I woke up healthy. And I had another visualization. At that time, they said that chronic fatigue syndrome was a virus, and so I went with that, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to visualize these little hitmen in my bloodstream killing off the virus. So they were like little Pac-Man creatures, in my bloodstream, eating up all that virus. And I did those two visualizations daily, and not for long. You don't need to visualize for 2 hours. A simple 15 minutes will do. And I had a beautiful story with a client. Who had suffered what the doctors determined to be irreversible damage. And so I said, okay, I want you to develop a visualization. Um, I don't give my clients visualizations. I have them develop their own because it's, what's going to work for you.
Yes, their
Is it art?
imagination.
Yeah, is it Archangel Michael coming in to heal you? Is it the little Pac-Man I had in my bloodstream? In my client's case, he was a highly technical individual, so he played this video game in his mind that when he pushed certain buttons, it lit up the damaged area in his body and brought it back to life. And 6 months later, his doctors called him a walking miracle. Like they were like,
Yeah.
the damage is gone, and we don't know how you did this.
They like to use the word miracle for
Right,
things they don't understand or they don't want to understand.
right. So it works.
Yeah, a miracle puts it over here where we don't have to try and explain it and possibly admit that this actually works.
Yeah. And
We,
we can't tell other patients about it because it's a miracle and we're not allowed to talk about that. Okay, so you're never going to hear about that. And so that was one of the biggest disappointments to me when I went to the Center for Persons with Chronic Fatigue Syndrome at the University of Medicine and Dentistry, and I told my doctor, I'm well, I'm going back to work. He never said, how did you do it?
they don't ask.
He never asked. And I left devastated, really, because I
Yes.
thought,
Yeah,
here I
they
have all,
operate within the confines,
yeah,
not only of their belief, but their education.
yeah,
But they also will get chastised and kicked out of the medical arena if they start going outside of the boundaries of accepted practices.
yeah.
We saw that during the Rona.
Hmm.
The doctors who came out and were vocal with, you know,
Yep.
what was available, and I'm just not going to say the words
Right, right.
so we don't get flagged for, educating people. But those are real remedies, not to use the C word, but
Yeah,
they're remedies for things. And what did the media do? Because they were told by the, the bad people that we need to discredit this as fast as possible. So all of a sudden you heard bleach, you heard horse paste, you heard
right,
all manner of talking points, and then people believed it because once you're told a lie enough times and the lie is big enough, it will be accepted as truth,
right,
which
right.
just for that um, for
It's
that
called brainwashing.
collective mindset becomes truth to them.
Yeah,
And since they all believe it, then they all reinforce it with each other. And therefore they're right until they learn that they aren't. And then they have to face up to the consequences of the decisions they made because they thought they were right because they believe lies. Right? So either we're spiraling right in neutral, or we're spiraling downward, or we're spiraling upward. My goal is always to be spiraling upward.
yeah,
And I find that neutral space is that point of rest. And if you need time to take in all the things you're learning, like somebody who reads your book and we just scratch the surface, is going to have their mind blown because it's going to obliterate many of the beliefs that they think they have, that the beliefs they might have learned from the point they were 2 to 8, and they still believe them and never questioned them. Therefore, that's how they conduct their life. So that neutral point, I'm just making this up right now. That it's kind of like a way station. Like somebody gets done reading your book, they're going to have to hang out neutral for a while. They
yeah.
may start to spin up some of the concepts that are probably easier for them. Like, okay, I'm going to stop energy drinks, right? So the metaphor I thought when you're talking about, that I'm super anxious. So you talk to somebody and they're like, I don't know what it is. I get bloody noses, I can't sleep, and I talk a lot. Well, you're a cocaine addict.
Right,
Stop doing cocaine. The nosebleeds will clear up. You'll stop bothering everybody.
right.
You'll sleep. I mean, come on, people.
Mhm.
So you can spiral up when it's a better time for you, like changing some nutritional things. That can be pretty easy. one of the hardest, to your point, was looking in the mirror and being honest
Mhm. Yeah.
and telling yourself the truth. Because if you can't tell yourself the truth, you can't find truth. You can't find the right answer. It will avoid you because you'll keep bringing in the wrong energy. Because remember, you're the conductor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I learned, I learned a lot on my journey and then working with people for the past decade and a half. I've let my clients teach me a lot also. And I study if a client comes in with a particular condition, I'll go study. I'll go learn about it and try to figure it out. And what I learned was, and this was through Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score. So Bessel van der Kolk, are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not with that.
He's like the godfather of trauma. Okay, he started studying trauma back in the 70s, after the Vietnam War, and the book is mind blowing. And I bought the book because I had taken in a new client that was in a horrific accident, and I was like, all right, I need to learn about trauma. And the book just blew my mind. It's a 16-hour audiobook, and basically, he breaks down trauma and he tells us that domestic trauma far out exceeds military trauma. You know, being abused, watching a parent be abused, watching the death of a loved one. There are all these things. There's 6 or 7 things that he mentions in the beginning of the book, that most everybody or someone has suffered. And what happens is that when trauma goes unhealed, the body gets stuck in fight or flight. And when the body gets stuck in fight or flight, it's releasing cortisol
Oh yeah.
and adrenaline, which
Mhm.
is turning off your immune system. So you do that long enough, and the body is going to break down and get sick. So stress, you know, bottom line, somebody asked me on the internet the other day, what causes illness? Bottom line, stress causes illness. But then we have all different kinds of stress. We have mental, physical, and emotional stress. So, you could have stress from the job that you hate. You could have stress from a child that you can't seem to communicate with, or a bad relationship, or you could have stress because you were traumatized as a child and it's never been healed and you're caught in fight or flight. So, the bottom line is stress causes illness. But now we need to know where your stress is coming from. And
Mhm.
it's not always the same place. Stress, you can stress your body by working out too hard. You can stress your body by over consuming alcohol. A lot of us know what that feels like. You know what that stress feels like on your body.
Yeah. It's called a
When you
hangover.
Yeah, it's called a hangover. So the bottom line is stress makes you sick. And then we need to identify what kind of stress you're
Yeah.
under.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's what I do know is that we can do a show on every chapter
We
because
could.
within every within every chapter there's really so much to unpack. But I think we've done a really, oh, it's 11:11.
I
We've done
know.
a really good uh, job of identifying and touching really just the surface. But if you just listen to this and then it leads people to your book to start to unravel themselves, untie the knots, then they are going to have a tool set to then move forward and to heal a lot of the boo-boos
I,
that we carry around in these adult meat suits.
we do. We're covered with all these little band-aids.
So
So,
yeah, it's like, well, what's that Band-Aid? Well, that was when somebody said something, and oh, you've never torn that off? No, it still hurts.
yeah.
So I think we'll continue to do more of these, but I think we've covered a lot today.
I think we have. I think
Yeah.
we have.
So tell us where is are the best places to find you. Where your handles on X,
Yeah.
wherever you are.
And I don't do a lot of social media simply because it's stressful. So I'm kind of hidden, and I apologize for that. If you're looking for me, the simplest place would be my website, and
Okay.
and that is my name, teresabruni.com. So that's really simple. I am on X at real Teresa Bruni. I'm on YouTube. Um, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find my book of course, on Amazon, but also Barnes and Noble and Apple Books, and it's available in all three formats. Um, I prefer to listen. I'm just,
I love I love podcasts.
I'm an auditory learner,
Yeah.
so I love to listen. And so it was really important for me to make sure my book was on audio.
Yeah.
And so, this is what it looks like if anyone is looking for it. And
Ta-da!
yeah, and then there's a workbook that goes with it. And the workbook is pretty extensive. It,
Yeah.
it contains charts and graphs and all kinds of tools to help you walk this journey on your own because maybe you don't want to work with me or maybe you can't afford to work with me. Then, buy this book. There are 130 exercises in there. Mirror work is one of them. And basically this will walk you through, what I walk my clients through. Um, but you'll be on that journey by yourself. But it's totally doable.
Yeah,
I mean, I
so
did
it's
it. I
much
did it by
more,
myself.
yeah, it's much more of the starter pack. It really is. It'll take you through your journey.
Right.
All right. Well, Teresa, this was fantastic.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
so
and
appreciate it.
like I said, we're gonna do some more.
Okay,
There's
awesome.
there's a lot more stuff to talk about. All right, so
Definitely.
again, Teresa Bruni,
Yeah.
and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, take care.